this is how I looked at crime as an insider who just started the service. And I found the preventers were people like the police. The police is a very strong preventer. People as professionals. The 6P I've circulated with to you. This is how even the prosecution court is a very strong preventer when it punishes rightly and make bails conditional. The prison is a very strong preventer. I ran India's largest prison, 10,000 prisoners at one time. So I realized how strong a prison plays its role as a preventer or a contaminator. And then the press and the others. So these were the preventers. So what I'm saying, sharing with you, is my working experience in the Indian Police Service, a service you don't know, just as I didn't know yours. I learned considerably today from you. Thank you so much. I'm giving you a glimpse of how I dealt with what I had. Because I didn't want to fail. I wanted to deliver my missionary, and that was crime prevention and larger security. I began with bringing people together way back, and I make them take a pledge, declared a pledge for the year, and they came together. I think being a woman mattered a lot. Probably they never had such an approach before. When I collected them in a stadium and saying, let's have a common pledge. How are we going to police together and make the city together? So I'm bringing you some of my archives which had been saved for all these years. Probably out of my tennis playing habit, when I used to keep my news clippings of losses and wins as a tennis player. So this is how these documents are going to take you to that historical evidence. So my evidence is my news clips. Short of men, we never had the security services at that time, the private securities. So brought in about joint patrolling and to start to prevent crime. So all crime prevention. I loved the beat system which you had, the London Bobby, the Robert Peel system. I was very fascinated with that. And one of the first things I did was to set up a beat system. And I've shared some of these pages in the book I've given to you, Creating Leadership. And those are some of the key lessons. And the key lessons of leadership was the test of leadership is all-round empowerment of all stakeholders. I gave every inch, the manpower I had was divided into beat systems, and every inch of my district or my policing was owned or was taken responsibility by these beat officers, and they delivered. And then we did all kinds of other interesting things, as you saw, by living up to the pledge. And this started to bring, this is looking at no budget so far. It was all about need-based and what I had. Then the beat box system, which was very interesting, at the heart of every 116 beat boxes, all donated by community. And this was a referral central point of a beat box where the people could come and share their views. And this led to huge, massive crime prevention. Women walked up, the market associations, this is right in the heart of every beat. And this was set up by community support, no cost to the government, and gave a place in a very respectable place for a beat officer to sit. Houses were gifted by people, again out of trust which we'd earned. My policing was based on trust, empowerment, and alignment. It was a T concept. Begin with trust, promote trust, empower people, and align them. So if you see, these are the three things so far. So when people were aligned, they start to gift me land to put up police posts. And we created more police posts and beat houses. This was a critical thing when I inherited. It was not West Delhi, it was Wet Delhi. It was all bootlegging. And the way we were judging each other was, neighboring districts had huge amount of bootlegging, great detection. They got rewarded for high detection. I had no detection because I had started to prevent bootlegging. So there was no detection. And I was asked to explain by my boss in the parliamentary question, saying, how do I justify to the parliament that there was no detection in your beat, your district, while I'm justifying high detection in others? I said, I don't know. That's for you to answer. Because I don't allow bootlegging. Because of the beat system and the beat box, there's so much of information that I don't let happen. It doesn't happen. And we round up people under section of a particular section where you could round up people for less than 24 hours and bring them to the police station and be there. This was a part of the Delhi Police Act. And just wouldn't let them bootleg. So there was no bootlegging, or there was very little. So there were no high detections. So they got off keel, and the bootleggers came up to us saying, can we be socially rehabilitated? So huge prevention in bootlegging. And one of the key factors is the way I did every morning, 10 a.m., meet up my beat officers by surprise. I had 19 police stations every morning, travel to one beat, and to check and listening. It was all about listening. What did you prevent? What did you do? What did you achieve? And they were so thrilled that their teachers come to listen to students. It was so interesting. They waited for me to come and hear the morning 9 a.m. beat system. It was just amazing how these men were now listening and taking orders from a woman, but a woman who's educating them regularly. And one of the key things I did every day, wherever anybody was caught, it was in a police station, I would go back to find out, why did you do this? Why did you commit the crime, the guy or a man or a woman who was in the lockup? To find out, where did we fail? Where did my beat system fail? What can we do better to learn better crime prevention? So we start to hit, that's the way we hit at the root of crime. And the root of crime was also these women who were drug peddlers. We set up reformatory schools. I've not spent a penny so far from the government, if you've noticed, but crime prevention is happening. And even these women who were drug pushers, I linked them with market associations of the areas who set up the reformatory schools, and they became self-employed. So we were rehabilitating tribes. So rehabilitated bootleggers, worked on tribe, all by human technology and human resources. And the civil cops, friends. I think against the background of what's happened in Belgium, this was a no-go area for me. When I took over, these slums were no-go areas where drugs were being sold. I made it to-go areas. Every day I would walk the beat, walked my system to find out what's going on. One of the first things I went into difficult areas, setting up beat boxes and beat constables, and patrolled and walked the area myself with group patrolling, and I brought in civil cops, integrated the community, which was actually away. It was a no-go area for men, but became the right area for me. And that's where we started to civilize and prevent crime. This is a very unique picture where we were bringing in past offenders to police stations for a cup of tea. Past offenders is making friends, is being there to check, how are you doing? What can we do for you? What can I do for you as cops? So it was like empowering even them to say, we're not hurting you. We are here to see, hope you're not being harassed by anybody. So they too could have been victims. By even my neighboring police stations, they would come and pick them up. No, you will not touch anybody who's living here as an offender who's not reoffending. We'll take care of you. So they came in numbers, so they stopped reoffending. So we found unique ways. This is serving tea to ex-criminals and criminals on the mend entertained. These were all unique. And then the drug addicts, you talked about drug abuse. We started to link them with drug abuse treatment centers. I've still not spent a penny of the government. It was all done by community support. And community came in a way and started to work. We ran drug abuse treatment centers in conjunction with the NGOs. And then drug addicts came into mainstreaming. And obviously that's reduced my crime. And that's how the newspapers reported cops on a noble mission. Not easily the media reports like that, but it did. And then that led to a foundation. I set up a foundation which was taking care of drug abuse treatment programs and reformatories, and people said, we need to institutionalize the program, Kiran Bedi, before you go. And I said, but how can I hang on to an assignment? They said, no, whatever work you did has to go on beyond you. So I said, what do I do? They said, found a foundation. So we serving police officers founded a foundation called Navjyoti, and that's working till now. It's reaching out to 10,000 people into marginalized sections of society in education and skills development. So friends, this is how we did. And then obviously women were mobilized in a big way. Brought them whenever we had a communal riot. If I had a curfew, the curfew was for men, not for women. Women were allowed to walk because women are peacekeepers and peacemakers. And that helped me normalize situations much faster. So these are some of those how I continue to link. when I say I did it, it was a huge teamwork behind. It was all empowered team, and that also rubbed on to many other places where men started to. Similarly, creating a civil defense force, which would then empower women to protect themselves. Training cops for self-defense. When we were running out of traffic cops, bringing in traffic, this is Goa, where we had the Commonwealth heads of government meet, and we had the Queen and Margaret Thatcher and others coming in. I was in charge of traffic at that time. I had no traffic cops, very few, and we inducted every National Cadet Corps student into traffic management. So friends, now it's a prison assignment where I am, where I ran as Inspector General, where I saw it was a vulture culture. Seniors go into prisons only, or government goes into when there's a death, when there's a vulture needed, nowhere else, otherwise they're inside. This is the way the prisons are, where everybody attacks it, but actually nobody, it's the fence eating the grass. Prisoners don't have a difference between day and night. And I started to reach them out as a community. This is inside the community, where I start to connect with them, because now I'd gone as a background of a police experience to say, if prisons stop contaminating, I as a police officer won't have reoffending. So it was a big selfish interest. So I start to work with them, again at no cost. These are all donated school books from Delhi schools coming in, where literacy program for 10,000 prisoners was everyday affair. Every day they went into school program. This too is a picture in some of the book from the picture book I've shared with you. Everybody went into 9 to 11 class, and everybody went to school. So illiterate prisoners became literate prisoners. Then we came into meditation programs, and this was studied. Some of these programs have been analyzed. This has been evidence-based, and it has established that such programs reduce reoffending in a big way. It was again at no cost. These programs came volunteering and ask for nothing. They want nothing. This is a program where they charge nothing. They want to come and serve, and then serve at no cost. It was 1,000 prisoners. If you want to see this movie, it's called Doing Time, Doing Vipassana. If you get to see this, it's a world-renowned film, which is filmed about this program. And then the feedback box, if you see this is very interesting feedback, where every prisoner had access to me through this locked feedback box and could write to me anything which is going on. As Inspector General, I had exactly known what was, again, at no additional cost. These are all human technology and innovative, need-based situation, all for better prevention. So it became a 3C model. If you notice on my right, is that the way it was as a model? This is the way it became a collective 3C model called collective, corrective, community-based, a 3C model. This is a page of my book called It's Always Possible, which is a project now, postdoctoral work. 3 fellowship. And another foundation was born out of this Magsaysay Award, which came as an Asian Nobel Peace Prize. I didn't know I was being watched. I was being analyzed to see what is the continuity of this work. And one day I was nominated for this award called Raman Magsaysay Award. And another foundation. Now, what are the options we have, my friends? I've told you. I think this is the way we are segregated. And the last panel exactly was addressing what I had come with intuitively in here, that we are segregated. And that's very well expressed in all earlier panels, that we all are silos, as the word has been repeatedly said. So from segregation, I think we need to become organic. And that's exactly what was said. There's a need for being organic. And that's the 6P formula I've been distributing ever. India has had a lot of crimes against women issues. And I've been saying we need to work together as parents, as people, as police, as prosecution, as politicians, prisons, and press. But how? And I think the how is very simple. We need to start listening together. And the chief constable said that there's a culture issue. There's a culture issue, but start coming together. Make a 6P formula or an 8P, whatever, and start listening to each other. Unless we do that, friends, the criminal will benefit, and the criminal is benefiting. I think the victims are suffering because we are not listening to each other. This 6P is the criminal justice. You need to integrate with, you need to listen. Prisons must tell you what's going wrong. And very rightly said by one of the participants here, prisons is a microcosm of society. You exactly know what's going wrong if you listen to the prisons. So we need to integrate, which I don't see integrated. So if we can, even the press needs to give the right kind of messages. Let's listen to each other. Let's be tolerant of each other. And if we get into 6P formula, who could be the hub? The hub is your minister. She's a fantastic minister, one of the finest speeches of a Home Secretary I've ever heard. She had a clear plan. You have a brilliant plan. I think she's one of the finest. Some of the plans I studied downloading on the internet are very exciting. Very good plans. All you need is a hub. Just come through. This is not now my suggestion. This is what came through the panel too, that we need to be hubs. The words were used. So who could be the hubs? Hubs could be the home secretaries, the chief ministers in my country. They could be the chief secretaries, the secretaries, the director generals of police in my country, the chief constables here, the elected members. Some of you, your commissioners are elected. So these are the hubs. I guess this is the way forward. And that's the way the hubs could be, rather than being segregated, work as hubs and listen to each other. So from segregated, I would suggest organic policing. And that to me is the road to prevention. I want to thank you very much for this. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching.